Well, hello, 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 hello. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll behave. Welcome to the Sunday video update. It is 3 o'clock Eastern Time. My name is Jared Fuller, aka the Jer Bear. This is the Sunday video update. Today's date is Sunday, September 12th, 2021. We are a day after the 20th anniversary of the one of the most biggest events unfolded in American history, the 9/11 attacks in New York City. I had written a couple of pages in my journal about what my thoughts are on 9/11, and I'll get to that in a minute. But in the meantime, I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you're staying safe, and I hope you're, staying productive and having a wonderful weekend. Um, I'm usually joined by Dad and Amy, but Dad's outside. Amy is in Owasso at the moment. It's been a long week, another long and busy week. So where do I begin? So let's see. I was, honestly, I don't even remember where I was last week because the week just kind of, zipped by. I've been keeping in contact with lots of friends and, of course, not a lot of family members, but a couple here and there. So that's basically been the crux of my week. So let's talk about 9/11. Because I mentioned last week that we are coming up on the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And so I guess I'll just kind of reiterate a little bit on what I remember from September 11th, 2001. So I was in high school. I was only 15 years old at the time. And I was in my seminar class in high school. And all the classmates were kind of talking about a plane crash. Now, mind you, Chesaning has a small municipal airport. It's called the Nixon Airport. Maybe it's not even a municipal airport. I think it's just a private-owned airport. But we have a small airport, and the classmates were talking about a plane crash, and I'm thinking, okay, something happened at Nixon Airport, and I just didn't hear about it yet. And I figured it might have been breaking news on TV or, in the school's announcements or something like that. And I was just waiting to see what they were talking about. Okay, what's going on at Nixon Airport? Well, I didn't know. I had no idea what was going on. I had no clue what was going on. Later that afternoon, I had to check my emails. So I went to the school's library to check my emails. They had a television set on in the library, and I saw Charles Gibson from Good Morning America. They had shown his face, but the volume was down, and I could see his lips move, but I didn't know what he was talking about. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? What's going on? Why isn't anyone telling me what's happening? Something is weird. Something strange is happening, and no one's saying anything, because you never see Charles Gibson on television during the afternoon unless there's breaking news or, something big is happening. So I'm just kind of sitting there waiting a few minutes, and they didn't show footage or anything. It was just Charles Gibson speaking. His lips were moving. I couldn't hear him. It's like, okay, we're going to get to the bottom of this one way or the other. So it would have been my last class of the day because they let all the students out early on September 11th. And so I asked one of my teachers, I said, can someone please tell me what's going on? I said, because I heard about a plane crash I'm guessing maybe at Nixon Airport. And my teacher said, a plane crash at Nixon Airport? What are you talking about? I said, well, all the other kids are talking about a plane crash. What's going on? Well, you didn't hear? No. What's going on? A couple of planes at the World Trade Center in New York City. And they're going to be letting the children out early. You guys are going to be let out of school early today. And so my advice to you would be to get your things around. So I was in book 6 of my journals, and I hurried up. I grabbed a loose leaf sheet of line paper. And, okay, tell me what's going on. I'm just writing this down from my journal. I just want to know what's going on. And as the teacher was explaining, I was writing, and there's a lot of inaccurate information. I realize that now. But at that time, the information was fresh. We didn't really have all the details, but I was writing all this down and I copied it over into my journal. At the time, it was book 6. And so when they let us out of school, just the weirdest, most strangest thing ever. I mean, really strange. They made us form a single file line and they walked us out the side door, and we had to maintain single file all the way out to our school buses, out to the buses that we, ride home. It's like, this is just really fucking weird. Like, why are they making us get in a single file line? What does that have to do with anything? So they drop us off at home, and, mom and dad, they knew that the kids were being let out early. I'm guessing somehow they found out. I don't know if I don't even remember if we had a house phone at the time, but usually they call you to let you know that the kids are being let out early. And I got off the bus and dad's like, "Did you hear what happened? Did you hear what happened?" I said, "Yeah, something about a plane crash in New York City. A couple of planes hit the World Trade Center and a bunch of people got killed." And not to sound dismissive, but it was just kind of a, like, yeah, this is what I heard. And it was just really weird. It was just a really weird thing to happen. We went out to, I remember it like it was yesterday, because we were going out to a small town called Pompeii, or Pompeii. It's in Gratiot County. It's just south of Ithaca, for those of you who aren't aware. We were going to, I think we were making a propane bill, or we were paying a payment on our propane bill. And on the way there, we were going to come through a little town called Marion Springs to get gas, because dad had to fuel up. We were kind of low on the tank, and there were cars lined up from the gas pumps at the Marion Springs General Store all the way back to near Burt Road, which is about a mile long. And it's like, what the fuck? This is weird. What the hell? And it was very unreal, very unreal. So we had to wait. I don't remember if we got gas or not that day. But we did manage to make it over to Pompeii to make the bill to make the payment. And then afterwards, we stopped at my Uncle Tim's, because he used to live not far from Marion Springs, and he had his television set on in his living room. At the time, it was President George W. Bush, and the banner on the television screen read that, terror hits home. And right then and there, it's like, I knew. It's like things are getting really fucking scary now, because when you have in big bold lettering on the bottom of the screen, and I understand that, that may be like to get your attention, which it was most appropriate for that moment, but to have big bold lettering on the bottom of a television screen and listening to President then Bush say our country's under attack, that was one of the most scariest moments of my life. And I'll never forget it. We came back home that following day, that same evening. I was watching World News back when Peter Jennings was still hosting it. And in all the, I grew up watching Peter Jennings, probably like most of you. You grew up watching Peter Jennings on television for a good many years, just like Charles Gibson and Joan London and Diane Sawyer, all the big names. Well, Peter Jennings was one of the big names. He's been on ABC News, or he was on ABC News for a good many years. And never in my life, or never in all the years that I've watched Peter Jennings on television up until 9/11, I have never saw that man cry or get emotional on national television. And that's what it was the reinforcement. That's when I knew at that moment that things are really fucking bad in this country, that something terrible, horrific has happened. And when they said terrorism, that was just a game changer. I was scared. I was really and truly legitimately scared for my family, for the state, for my country. I was scared, and I was only 15 years old. And it's like, how can I feel so much and absorb all of this and what's going on? It was really weird. It was really strange. But it's a day I'll never forget, and I've been keeping in touch with a lot of my my oncology friends and just family, friends who are really close to me, and I've asked them, are they teaching this subject in schools? I've heard that it's being printed in textbooks and history books and things like that, and they have all said yes, that they're teaching that as a subject in school, or in the history, I guess you'd call it. Um, they're teaching that event in history because it's being printed in the textbooks. Now, I don't know exactly the age demographic of the people who watch my channel or they watch my videos, but if you were born after September 11, 2001, I can tell you from personal experience, it was a weird day. It was a day like no other. I'll never forget it. I was scared. I was legitimately straight up fucking scared of what was going on in this country. I was profoundly scared. And it was like the scene out of a movie. Like, is this real? Like, what's going on? And it's just a day I'll never forget. And it's also a day that had changed the course of the behaviors and the ways of thinking in this country. Because now we have, I mean, since then, or over the past 20 years, we've watched this fear and fear mongering and pandemonium. We've watched it unfold and unravel over the years. We know the nature of people. We've seen this erupt. People are constantly scared. They are very untrustworthy. Everybody's afraid of their own shadow, and for maybe perhaps for some good reason, I would assume. However, it's when you get afraid of the little things, when you're believing things that you're told, when you're just taking in what you're given without questioning what's going on or looking into sources and trying to get to the bottom of what's really going on, the root of what's actually going on. People, especially here in America, and I love my country, but there's a lot of things about this country that have just, they have dramatically changed since the events of 9/11. People are more afraid now than ever before than we've ever been. And it's just a shame. I remember how we were prior to 9/11. We were a lot more relaxed. We let our shoulders down. And then when 9/11 happened, yeah, we banded together as a country, as a nation, and we got through some of the most difficult times. But I think it's also safe to say that people scare easier now than they ever have before. Don't trust anybody. Just believe everything until it's disproven. That's a dangerous place to be. First of all, that's a very dangerous place to be, but it's also not the most strategic place to be when we're trying to make rational decisions based on evidence and critical thinking. And I'm not political, so I don't really talk much about politicians and people who did the right thing. Like recently, I mean, if you watch CNN or whatever news you choose to watch, I heard somewhere that President Biden had withdrawn troops from Afghanistan. There's a lot of stink about that. I don't know the whole story behind it. I don't have an opinion because I don't think about it. I'm not political. But in terms of the behaviors of the country as American citizens, we have all gotten very, very scared of everything. And that's not a good place to be. I miss the way things used to be prior to 9/11, prior to the fear mongering and walking around like a zombie, like, oh, what's going to get me? What's going to happen next? Always in constant fear of something or someone out to get you. that's where we are in this country now, and it's very depressing. It's very sad to know that this country that I love, this nation, I was born and raised here. I am an American through and through. I'm happy to be an American. There's a lot of things about this country that I'm not really fond of and I'm kind of embarrassed by. But everything takes time. You work on things to try to do better because you can only get better. And this country has really the wheels fell off. The wheels fell off, and I'm just really sad to see this country go in the direction that it had gone in after 9/11. Now here we are 20 years removed from 9/11. Now we have a COVID pandemic. We didn't see this coming. Many people said we did. I don't think we did, honestly, because you can't predict things like this. But in any event, here we are, pandemic. We're all fighting and fussing over who's getting vaccinated, who's not getting vaccinated, who's wearing a mask, who's not wearing a mask. It's time and time again, we are going through something new all the time. And people are constantly scared and afraid. And it's just not somewhere that I would ever want to be. It's not somewhere you would want to be. And that's where we are now. And living in America, yes, while America does have its perks, it's awesome to live in America. This is a wonderful country. It's the best country, I think, that I've ever experienced. And it's, I was born and raised here. I'll die here. I love being an American. I love living in America. But I don't care for the attitudes and the directions that this country had taken. And I'm not suggesting that I have an alternative solution to what's going on or how to solve any other problem, as a nation. All I'm saying is that there's a lot of things that I don't agree with. And it's okay to disagree with a lot of things. You don't have to agree with what everybody else says or what everybody else thinks. These are just my opinions. And not being political, I have no personal thoughts about Trump. I have no personal thoughts about Biden. I have no personal thoughts about Kamala Harris or Mike Pence or any of those people. I just don't give a shit because I didn't vote for him. I haven't voted since I was 18 years old. So it's been a very long time, and I'm never voting. Never again. I put an end to that. But those are kind of my thoughts on, where we are as a nation in relevance to September 11th. And for the longest time after September 11th, and I know a lot of you, and you wouldn't admit this otherwise, but a lot of you were really getting frustrated and annoyed by the fact that, every year we have to talk about 9/11. Never forget, never forget. How can we forget when the media is constantly throwing it in our faces? And I agree. And that's where I was. That's where my thinking was. It's like, how can we forget? It was one of the biggest moments of American history. You're not going to forget that. Unless, of course, you were born after September 11, 2001, you would have no idea what happened. So yeah, we keep talking about that every year because it was a big moment in our country. It changed everything. And I love America. I'm happy to be an American, but there's a lot of things. We are a great distance from utopia, whatever that may be. And there's a lot of work to be done. We are a long way from being where we need to be or should be as a country. I love my country, but there's a lot of things about this country that embarrass me. And, I've said this many times to several of my friends and they've agreed, in acquiescence, but they agree. I'm not mainstream. I'm not really a trendy person. I don't give a shit what's hot and what's not. I just don't care. I just do my thing. But that's basically where I am with the September 11th thing. it has caused this country, the attitudes and the behaviors of this country, everything changed. It's not like it used to be prior to 9/11. But I still have plenty of friends out there in text messages, emails, text messages, emails, sometimes phone calls, Skype, video chats. I still have lots of friends out there whom of which I truly love and care about, whether they be from the pediatric oncology world or just random friends I've known for years, maybe through school, or just people I've seen around my community, my hometown. I am known by lots of people, and I have lots of friends, and I am loved by lots of people, and I love lots of people myself. But as far in terms of nation, in terms of country, we have changed a lot since 9/11. I'm not convinced that we changed for the better because of the fear mongering and let's be afraid of each other's shadows and let's place blame when we don't have evidence credible enough to place the blame. That's where we are. We believe everything we're told. We're indoctrinated. That's where we are now, and it's only gotten worse. But anyway, those are my thoughts about 9/11, and I have not forgotten, and I will never forget as long as I live, because I was a teenager at the time. I was only 15 years old, and having lived through that horrific event in American history, and it was just really scary. It was really scary. If you weren't around in 2001 or September 11th or whatever, you had to be there in order to actually know how you felt or how you would have felt about it. Like I said, I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember it very vividly that my nation, my country, my home turf was under attack, and innocent lives were lost because of the ignorance of people. This is all people doing this to people. We're doing this to each other. It's not anyone else's fault but ours, humanity. And I just wish that we could do better. I'm always going to wish that we could do better and do good things for good reasons. And you don't have to agree with everything. You can have an opinion. You can voice your opinion, or you can be someone who voices a fact, and you can get on with your day. But I cannot see, another country, obviously, they don't like us for whatever the reason. We have freedom, and they don't like the fact that we have freedom, and they don't. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand human psychology, but human behavior to me is kind of fascinating. It's just really, one person could be okay about this and another person cannot be okay about that same thing. It's just really fascinating to me how human beings are. And I'm one of them. And I'm probably fascinating to a lot of people. I'm not perfect, and I'm flawed, and I'm liable to change my mind about a lot of things on occasion, and I have. But at the end of the day, I'm always trying to do my absolute best, and I'm trying to do things the right way, the proper way, because respect is something that is earned. It's not demanded. And I think the one thing like that's probably the one thing, the most important thing about this nation that we've lost about ourselves is that people forget that they're not entitled to everything. The sense of entitlement has gotten way overboard to the absolute extreme, where they think that they are deserving of everything just because of what they do. You're not. The reality is you're not. You do what you do to help people. You may not always get the thank yous. You may not always get the praise. You don't need it. Just do what you're going to do and go on with your day. Go on with your life. But we have reached a very bad place in civilization where people think that they are entitled to everything under the sun. And that is just not the case. Reality doesn't work that way. But to all my friends who are watching this, and if you were personally affected by the 9/11 tragedy, my heart goes out to you. My love and my condolences go out to you. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget 9/11. You can't forget it. If you were around during that time period, you will never forget that. I started writing journals in 1999 when I was only 13. So I was just 2 years into, well, would have been 2 years into the journal writing. But September 11 tragedy happened prior to the 2-year anniversary. So of course I don't forget that. I can't forget that. But that's all I'm going to say about the 9/11 tragedy. I spent the first 25 minutes of the Sunday video update talking about the 9/11 tragedy. So overall, generally speaking, health-wise, I'm doing pretty good. I have my good and bad days like anybody else. I reach out to people that I don't hear from anymore. And this is one of the things that really bothers me. And I know I should probably save this for a daily rant, but I'm just going to say it now. And I think it's really fucking shitty that, there are lots of friends that I've had, female friends that I've had, I used to talk to them all the time, almost daily. The thing that really kind of bugs me the most is the fact that once they get into a relationship, or once they get engaged to a partner, or once they actually marry the partner that they're with, they forget about me instantly. It's like, so now suddenly we're not talking anymore. Like, what the fuck is up with that? And yeah, it does bother me because, there's someone said to me yesterday, well, I think the reason why that is why women stop talking to their single male friends, because it's out of respect for the person that they're with. Well, that right there is a red flag, and it's evidence of an insecurity problem, because you're marrying someone who can't trust you enough to have friends who are male, and they're just friends. It's a platonic friendship. There's nothing sexual or perverted going on. That is indicative of your partner. Your partner is the one with insecurity issues. Why do you have to suddenly cut people off because you think that it's respecting your partner? That's horseshit. It's horseshit, and it's probably one of the better reasons why I'm not in a relationship. I will never get fucking married. It's the dumbest thing ever. I will never get shackled to somebody like that, because if I can't be in a relationship where I can maintain my friendships with other people that I've talked to for fucking years prior to the relationship, then the relationship is going south. The relationship goes bye-bye, because I'm not going to sacrifice my friends, people I've spoken with, men or women, doesn't matter. I'm not going to sacrifice my friendships and cut off connection with people that I've spoken with for a long time just to satisfy the insecurities of the one person that I'm supposed to be with. That is a crock of shit. I would never expect that of my partner. I would never say, well, if you're going to be with me, you're going to have to stop talking to all these different guys. You're going to have to stop talking to all these women. You're going to have to make sacrifices for me too. Fuck that. You keep your friends. You keep talking to your friends. The fact that if I were to get jealous because my wife or girlfriend, whatever, was talking to other guys, if that makes me jealous or insecure, then maybe I don't belong in the relationship. Maybe it's me. How many guys can say that? How many guys can actually step forward and say, I'm a jealous guy. I'm a jealous man. I don't like it when my woman or my partner talks to other people. I don't like it, especially when they're single. You don't hear about that a lot. You don't hear about men actually stepping up to the plate and admitting that they have a problem, because they're men, and men aren't supposed to admit when there's something wrong. Bullshit. Bullshit. It's called honesty. And if you can't be honest at the gate, how do you expect your partner to be honest through the remainder and the course of the relationship? How do you expect that? First red flag is insecurity. And I think it's a crack that so many of my friends, female friends in particular, I've reached out to them. I've made attempts to ask them how they're doing, how their children are doing. I get nothing. I don't fuss over it as much as I used to or otherwise would have. I just think to myself, well, if they think bad thoughts about me or think I'm a horrible person, they can fuck right off. However, if they are doing it for reasons of satisfying the ego and the insecurity issues of their partner, well, that's not my issue. That's their issue. And if they get around to replying to my text messages or emails or what have you, then that time will come when it comes, if it comes. But I'm not going to wait around. I have a life of my own to live. And, speaking of relationships, I guess I could talk about that because really nothing much else to talk about. Although, actually there is, but I'll get to that after I talk about this, after I make this point. So a lot of people put out videos on YouTube, and it gives me some insight. Something I have never thought about before might trigger a new thought in my own mind. Why they're not in relationships, why they love the single life, which I love the single life. There's no other life better than the single life. But I like to watch other people's content just to get an idea of where they're at in their minds, what they're thinking. And a lot of the reasons for people being single kind of fall in alignment with my reasons for remaining single. No financial burden. I can do what I want when I want. I'm not straddled with responsibilities that are unnecessary and commitments that are unnecessary. I can just up and leave whenever the fuck I feel like it. All my money is my money. And, one of the bigger things, and this is going to sound probably slightly sexist, so I do apologize in advance. But of all the experiences that I've had with talking to women, trying to get in, maybe possibly potentially grow a friendship into a relationship, go further than a friendship. In my experiences of that, trying to, put myself out into the dating scene, I have had the experience or the result of women who are looking for men to support them, to take care of them. And I kind of take issue with that. Not that I don't care about my partner, if give them what they need or whatever the case may be. They are looking for a life of luxury to which the man is supposed to support that. The man is supposed to provide the life of luxury, which is what most of these women that I've spoken, I'm not saying this about all women, but most of the women that I've talked to, they're looking for a man to spoil them, to give them everything they whine for, everything they cry for. It's horseshit. And when the man refuses to provide that, the response from the women is, well, they're just not mature enough to be in a relationship. That pisses me off. That pisses me off because of the fact that they may be mature enough to realize what the fuck they're getting themselves into, and they don't want to burden themselves with debt that is unnecessary, because who's going to pay for it? Not the woman, the man is. It's up to us to furnish that lifestyle. And it comes at a cost. I don't see myself as someone who's going to go bankrupt. I'm not going to put myself into insurmountable debt just to make a woman happy. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Because the thing about relationships are supposed to be a give and a take. And I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about everything that relationship entails. Everything is a give and a take. I'm not going to be the one doing all the giving. I guarantee it. The woman would have to give something, you know, there would have to be, some kind of meeting in the middle. There'd have to be a meeting of the minds. But I'll be damned if I'm going to be the one constantly providing. I go out in public, like to the bars and the restaurants, and I see these couples, and they order, the most expensive shit, like stuff that I wouldn't buy because I just don't want to pay the price for whatever it is that they're eating. I'll settle on a burger and fries. I mean, that's enough for me. I don't need anything special. But they order the most expensive stuff, and I can't help but think to myself, damn, dude, how much is this woman costing you every week? Couple thousand at least? Come the fuck on. And that's why, hello, Dad.
Hello, bud.
So that's why I choose to remain single. Relationships are expensive. It's not so much children that are expensive. Relationships are expensive. And I'm in a place now, I'm 35 years old. I haven't had a lot of girlfriends. Maybe I'm just being selfish. I don't know. Call it whatever you want. But at 35, I'm pretty set in my ways. I enjoy the single life. I enjoy the fact that things that I have, whether it be a computer, a microphone, my clothes, my journal books, my poetry, anything and everything I've ever done, I've done on my own, and my possessions are mine. I don't share them. No one is going to take this away from me if the relationship fails. I don't have that problem. I'm not burdened and saddled with unnecessary anxiety and debt. I don't have these problems. And I'm not saying that all relationships are bad. I mean, most people enjoy their relationships. They don't mind being subservient and, whatever the case may be. But those of us who really and truly give a fuck about freedom and we don't want to sink ourselves into debt, we choose the single life because the single life is preferably better than being in fucking debt for no reason. All because the partner, and I know I said woman and I probably shouldn't have, but the partner expects everything. You have to provide that. And if you can't, you're a loser. No, it's not like that at all. I'm not a loser. I just think that, everything that I have is mine. I'm not sharing it with anybody. I don't find it necessary to sink myself into insurmountable debt just to make somebody else happy. I don't see it. So I enjoy the single life. Do I enjoy sex? Sure. Who doesn't? I'm a man. I have wants, needs, desires. None wrong with that. But I'm not interested, any of the other stuff because it's too expensive. And women, stop calling men immature because they don't want to sink themselves into debt to make you happy. That's not immaturity. Okay, if that's immaturity, that's you being selfish. So can we, knock it off? Can we cut it out? Because it's not immaturity. So, but anyway, that's my spiel on relationships. I love being single and I wouldn't have it any other way. Now, there were a couple of other things I actually wanted to talk about that happened this past week. Matter of fact, just last night. So where do I start? Well, okay, I'll do the simplest one first. This past Tuesday, we had severe weather come through. There were some tornado warnings issued for Clare, Isabella, Midland, Bay County, not for Saginaw County, but for the counties north of where I live at. No actual confirmed tornado sightings, but a lot of straight line wind damage. Severe weather really ripped us a new asshole, to put it, bluntly. We had some really bad storms come through and lots of damage, but I think we're doing pretty good now. We're picking back up and we're getting back to where we need to be in regard to that. So the bigger thing I wanted to talk about, Amy's brother, and he's here, by the way, but he's going to wait outside until after I wrap up the Sunday video update. He and his wife, soon to be ex-wife, got into a bit of a confrontation over the weekend. And there's two different stories, so I'm not sticking my knife into the ground believing one person over the other. I'm neutral. I don't believe any side because I wasn't there. So I can't confirm what's true and what's not. But the report had come out where Amy's brother attacked his soon-to-be ex-wife, I guess kicked the door in and held her down by her throat, this, that, and the other. And so he's been trespassed because he lives in Owasso at his adopted mom's house. She's got dementia. You probably heard Amy talk about this week in and week out. Amy's mom has dementia, and she's 82 years old. She's not in the right state of mind. So it's a great big mess. Well, there was a physical confrontation, by what I heard. I don't know how true it is, that he and his ex-wife, she says that he attacked her. He says that she attacked him. So who knows? Now he didn't, she didn't file a PPO against Amy's brother. The assisting officer did in Owasso. She fled to Texas. He has to be in court tomorrow morning. Well, there is a no contact order, and that was issued by the judge, by the courts in Shiawassee County. Now, Amy's brother's been here with us for the weekend, and he's still here. She contacted him, and the law was called. Police showed up here last night at the house. Of course, not for me or Dad. Everything's good. I'm good. I'm not in any kind of legal problems. No legal trouble. But the police showed up. It was a Saginaw sheriff deputy. I guess what's going to happen is, because it's a different county, there's not much Saginaw County can do, but the deputy on call last night, he said he was going to write out an official report that she violated the no contact order, the PPO. The problem with that is that she fled the state. She's in Texas, or she's headed to Texas now. She's bound for Texas. And so what's probably going to happen, if I had to guess, and if I understand the law correctly, she jumped state, which means that the charges are going to be dropped automatically because she's not here to testify. She won't be here to testify. He has to be in court tomorrow. Chances are good. And mind you, he was trespassed from his mom's property. He's not allowed to be in the vicinity of where his adoptive mother lives at, because if so, he'll be arrested. He was there today. He didn't get arrested. The cop said it was okay, whatever, because she's not there. She's not there. His ex-wife isn't there. She fled for Texas. But he does have to appear in front of a judge tomorrow. Lots of drama going on. And whenever you hear Amy off camera talk about there's lots of drama going on in the family, she doesn't feel comfortable getting into the specifics. I'll put it out there, because of the fact that Amy may not understand. And this is no cheap shot against Amy, because I know she's probably watching this from Owasso, which is where she's at now. It's no cheap shot against Amy, but she probably, if I had to guess, because I've known Amy for a very long time, since I was a teenager, she doesn't know how to put it into words without saying something incorrectly. I mean, I do that. I say things incorrectly. I use the wrong words, or I use the wrong terminology. So, to kind of put it in a nutshell, Amy's brother and his soon-to-be ex-wife have been having marital issues for a very long time. And soon, by the sounds of things, a divorce will be final. And Amy's brother and I have been talking. We've been talking about things. And I told him, the single life is fucking incredible, dude. The single life is awesome. You can get laid whenever you want, wherever you want. You know, you're free to play the fields a little bit. But you know, it's not just the sex either. As I pointed out, it's everything. Everything. Does it get lonely sometimes? Sure. I get lonely sometimes. I have friends that I never hear from, and I reach out to them all the time. But I also understand that they too have lives. So their lives are more wrapped around their families and, you know, taking care of things at home, which is understood. I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to dispute that. But I do miss my friends and I do get lonely sometimes. You know, I don't have any close companions that I can talk to. And I have people who are emailing and texting and messaging me frequently, just not every day. Maybe every other day, or like at the top of the day, you know, like around 11 o'clock midnight, I'll get a text message or an email or you know, some kind of a message. But the single life, generally speaking, the single life is fucking incredible. And I told him, I said, you're going to find a lot of peace being by yourself. You got to learn how to be by yourself. It's not so much the fact of, well, there's plenty of fish in the sea. It's not like that. It's more the fact of, now you have the opportunity, you have the time to experience being by yourself and just enjoying your own company and your own peace and your own tranquility. You don't have the burden of marital life. You know, you don't have the burden of trying to keep a partner happy or trying to change somebody or trying to help someone. You don't have those issues anymore. That goes away. Yeah, it's going to take time to get over, especially, you know, because Amy's brother and his wife, soon to be ex-wife, they were married for 13 years. You don't just get over loving somebody. I mean, when you're with someone for as long as they've been together, my mom and dad were married for 20 fucking years. And they get along better now that they're not married than when they were married. And I think what it is that the shackles come off, right? And I've heard marriage described as just, you know, it's just a piece of paper. Some big deal. Basically, that's how I feel. It's contractual slavery. I use the word slavery very lightly because, you know, it's not actual, you know, I own you. It's basically, if you leave me, I own part of your shit. I own your possessions. I don't own your body. I own your possessions, kind of a thing. So on that term, when I say contractual slavery, you have to be, it's like you have to be subservient to another throughout the course of the marriage or the relationship, depending. And, you know, it's a fucking mess. And I'm glad that I have no part of that. I don't have that anxiety. Would I like to find somebody? You know, there's always going to be a part of me that wishes so. There's always going to be a part of me that wishes, you know what, maybe I might strike it rich, so to speak. I'm not talking literal rich, you know, money, but I might get lucky. Like the planets and all the stars, they might align just right enough for me to find someone who's meant for me and loves me for me. Now, that hasn't happened yet. I haven't totally closed the door on love and relationships. That door, proverbial door, is slightly left ajar, just in case that one person happens to come into my life and they love me for me. They don't care about what I'm able to provide or not provide. They love me, for my personality, for how I treat people, how I'm able to love, my capacity to love. Because, you know, I've been through quite a bit in my life, and there's lots of other people out there who've been through quite a bit in their lives as well. And I don't want to shut the door completely and say, well, there's no hope, there's no chance of that happening. But in the meantime, I'm just going to enjoy the single life. I enjoy being by myself. You know, I had that conversation with Amy's brother yesterday, and he said that my philosophy kind of made him think a little bit, turned on the lights in his mind. Um, love is not a bad thing. It's not wrong to love somebody. But for me, again, in my experiences with women, maybe I'm just not finding the right woman yet. I don't know. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But most of the women I've spoken with, they want to be spoiled all the fucking time. Gimme, 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 gimme. I want to date a guy who's handsome and rich and someone who can take care of me. Listen, young people out there who are married or planning to get married, y'all pretend like this is 1955, grandpa and grandma's marriage. It's not. Those days are gone. That ship has sailed. We are in a new time and a new place in life in our history. It's not the same as when our grandparents got married. So if you're going into this thinking that it's going to be exactly the way your grandparents' marriages were, fucking forget it. Those days are gone. You're wasting your time. And that's how most people go into things like this, thinking that it's going to be just like grandpa and grandma's marriage, where the man is going to support me and, a rich guy, so I don't have to do anything. I can just sit around and be a financial fucking leech. And basically that's what it is. But the only difference the only difference about marriages back then is that when they said I do and they agreed to the wedding vows, back then they actually fucking meant it. They actually meant it. When they got married, they meant it. They stuck to their wedding vows through sickness and health, for richer or poorer, as long as you both shall live. Nowadays, it's like lyrics to a song. That's why young people don't take marriage very seriously. They think that what they're getting into is going to be remarkable and fantastic, and it's not. It's not the same thing. It is just not the same. Marriage, the institution of marriage, is not the same as it was back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s even. My mom and dad were married in 1982, before I was born. It's just not the same thing. It's just not. Everything changed over the course of all those years. I heard my phone vibrate, so I just wanted to see if it was anyone responding to a message or whatever the case may be. It wasn't. But yeah, that's basically where I'm at with relationships. I know it sounds callous, and I would say I apologize for sounding that way, but I don't. Those are my true feelings. I'm hoping that the right person would come along, if in fact she's out there. But if not, I'll just enjoy the single life in the meantime. And again, you women need to stop saying that the men are immature because they don't want to financially burden themselves with giving you everything you whine for. You spoiled little fucking brat. That's kind of how it is. I don't know. I just don't want to get involved in any of that. But anyway, guys, let's see here. We are almost at 4:00 already. That hour went by very quickly. So it's been a very busy week, a very busy week. I didn't do anything special on Labor Day. Tomorrow, Billy's is opening back up out in Clio, Billy's Pine Run Inn. I'm debating as to whether or not I'm going to go out there. I haven't made up my mind. I told Dad I probably won't go out there, but I might. I don't know yet. I haven't made up my mind. I haven't made any rash decisions. These will be open tomorrow, and I think Dan Richards is back from vacation. He and his wife Georgianne, they went out to Myrtle Beach, and by the looks of things and the sounds of things, he had a really good time. I saw some pictures. He sent me some pictures. So yeah, everything's going to be back to normal here. Come tomorrow. Well, tonight, Dan Richards will be back on the airwaves at 98 WKCQ, which is a country music station in Saginaw. He does the Sunday flashback from 7 until midnight. And then tomorrow night at Billy's, he'll be there for the Monday flashback, which is not going to be broadcast on the radio. It never is. He'll be there for the Monday flashback from 6:30 to 8:30. So yeah, I think he's back home. He's back home now. So be sure to watch. Okay. Be sure to listen to the Sunday flashback. All my local friends who listen to 98 WKCQ. And of course, you can visit their website. They do have an official website. WKCQ.com, I think it is, or 98. No, I'm sorry. No, scratch that. 98FMKCQ.com. 98FMKCQ.com. You won't be able to listen live to the Sunday flashback. At least I don't think so, because you have to be in Michigan, I think is what Dan told me the last time. I actually live in Michigan, and for some strange reason, I can't listen to the Sunday flashback on the internet. I do have a radio, though. I have a karaoke machine with an AM/FM radio and tape deck built into it, so I'll probably just plug that in and listen to the Sunday flashback. Maybe. I haven't listened to the flashback in quite some time. But anyway, guys, that's about going to do it for this week. That hour goes by so fast. Let's see where we are. We are down to the last 4 minutes of the Sunday video update. I thank you all so much for stopping by and indulging me for this past hour, and just kind of listening to some of my thoughts. Yes, I realize that we are in the 12th. We are on the 12th day of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. I do realize and understand that this is what September is. This is what September entails. But I'm really not interested in participating in advocacy efforts because to me, and it sounds callous and it might sound selfish, but to me, it's an exercise in futility because nothing is going to change, not fundamentally and incrementally. Nothing will change. I mentioned this in my recent Daily Rant recording. Nothing is going to change just because we post ribbons or we talk about it, or, hey, big pharma, put us first, make us a priority. No, I'm sorry. I just don't see it anymore. And it's the fact that it's just the people. The people are just rotten. There's too many bad guys who are given too much credit and too much reverence to what they do and what they, the image that they try to put out, this fake eleemosynary facade, this fake eleemosynary image that they try to persuade people with in order for them to donate and to, just to bow down and kowtow to these people like Milk Tyson and Tom Mitchell and all these other people. I have no use for any of them. I don't like liars. I don't like cheaters. I don't like thieves. I don't like sex predators, especially when they're preying on vulnerable, innocent people to get their money. That's Milk Tyson, by the way. And I've said it again, or I've said it once before and I'll say it again. If you're going to perpetuate a rumor or a lie, that makes you just as much equally a fucking liar as the person who fostered it. So, anybody who fosters a lie or a rumor, that makes you just as much a liar. So, there's very few people I trust in the childhood cancer world anymore. There's very few people I talk to. There's a lot of snakes and savages, not in a good way. They think that being a savage is just cool. not in the way that I'm using the word savage. Being a savage and making it all about yourself is just absolute garbage. Children are dying, and they're dying and they're suffering needlessly and helplessly. They're not dying in vain, for Christ's sake. These children need help. They don't need you using them to look like a poster child. They just don't. And the best part of all of that, which I love it, I sense a little bit of jealousy with these people because I can relate to their kids in ways that they can't. That's the kicker. That's the big thing right there. I can relate directly to their children and their situations in ways that their parents cannot, or these people who want to champion themselves as activists and advocates. It pisses people off. That's why there's such a huge vendetta against Jer Bear, because Jer Bear is not just some, nickname that someone threw. The nickname Jer Bear derives from my own personal cancer battle. And unlike them, I'm not trying to pose myself in any vain way. I don't give a fuck about the vanity. I don't care about tabloids and press. I care about the well-being and the safety and the health of your children. That's it. And that's how I'm going to wrap up the Sunday video update. Much love to all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I will be back on the 19th of September. I had to check my calendar, do a mental math calendar kind of a thing. But much love to all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next week. And Amy and Dad might be here next week. Well, Dad did peek in there a couple times, but he will probably join me next week, and Amy will probably join me next week as well. A very important date is coming up next week, not the 19th, but on the 21st. And I will probably have a video uploaded for this channel. So much love to all of you. Once again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next week. Much love. Peace out, and keep it real, guys. I'll see you all next week. Take care.